Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, while technically ambitious with its weather systems, aircraft physics, and global photogrammetry, can be both intimidating for newcomers and liberating for veterans migrating over from PC. For the former, it means jumping into a cockpit that feels like an unsolvable puzzle. For the latter, it's breaking old habits by relearning workflows and interfaces. The good news for both is that once you get your bearings, the PS5 version is the same aviation sandbox PC players have enjoyed for decades. Whether you're learning to keep a Cessna level or wringing realism out of an airliner, these 15 tips and tricks will help you fly smarter on your PS5. Start with all assists on if you're new. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is generous to any aspiring aviators on PS5, bundling in a suite of assistance options including an all assists preset. This doesn't just make flying easier. Turned on, if you're a novice pilot, it'll free your brain to focus on the fundamentals: pitch, roll, power, airspeed, and how these elements all interact. Like stabilizers on a bike, all assists will keep you comfortably airborne until you're confident enough to peel them off. Assistance can be tuned for realism too. If you're an expert jumping across from PC or simply chasing the most authentic flying experience, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 offers a deep selection of settings beyond the presets. You can turn off everything from yoke sensitivity assistance and fuel auto mixing to visual navigation aids and flight planning help. The PS5 version is built with fine control in mind. It aids settings function like a realism gradient rather than a collection of on and off switches. So if it's authenticity that you're after, but you know you don't want your engine to be stress damaged, there are tweaks that'll match your goal. Just spend some time in the options tailoring towards your desired experience. Fix the hypersensitive cursor. This one's a quality of life essential. Because the simulation relies heavily on cockpit interaction, the cursor, when enabled, effectively becomes your mouse. The default setting, however, is absurdly sensitive. Within Settings, go to Accessibility, then Effects and Animations, then Cursor Settings. You'll then be able to fine-tune cursor acceleration and max speed until interactions feel controlled. This single adjustment makes navigating the game's submenus and later cockpit switch interaction and inputs vastly more manageable. Transcribe the tutorials if needed. The lesson workflow is one of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024's PS5's strengths. But in its attempt to onboard new pilots as swiftly as possible, it does fire information relentlessly. Don't hesitate to pause, grab your phone or old-school pen and paper, and jot down input combinations for critical interactions or accessing submenus. You don't need to memorize entire startup procedures or taxiing protocol, the game prompts when required. But noting commands for switching camera modes or accessing the cockpit's PFD saves time and avoids future mishaps, like accidentally using a shortcut to switch off your engine mid-flight. Again, if you're new, spend your early hours in cockpit view. External cameras are great for sightseeing, and you'll be doing plenty of that throughout. But cockpit view is where your skills develop. Every instrument reading, airspeed, vertical speed, RPM, altitude, teaches you something about the aircraft's behavior. And while, yes, most of these readings are visible via on-screen HUD even when the camera is trailing, new pilots tend to overcorrect. Flying visually rather than instrumentally feels a bit like searching for a light switch in the dark. It's best to stick with cockpit view early on as you develop those instincts that make pitch correction, course adjustment, landing, and yes, finding that metaphorical light switch far easier later. The in-flight toolbar can be customized. The in-flight toolbar includes functions like a weather panel, PFD shortcut, camera adjustments, ATC prompts, and it can be customized via the cog button, with the option to add or remove panels. This matters on PS5 because controller navigation, as alluded to earlier, isn't as precise as a mouse. A personalized toolbar streamlines the experience with fewer pauses, less confusion, and a cleaner overall rhythm. Fine-tune your DualSense. The DualSense is surprisingly capable for flight simulation, but its default sensitivities won't be suitable for all. Much like the cursor, if you're struggling to match the controller's reaction to your movements, there are tweakable options for thumbstick sensitivity, trigger responses, touchpad zones, dead zones, curves, and acceleration. Above all, these changes impact comfort. If you're consistently overbanking or overcorrecting, Adjusting sensitivity curves to smooth out your inputs might make the aircraft feel more predictable. Dial in the gyro settings. The DualSense's gyro controls can make lateral maneuvers feel more natural, as if you're handling the controller like a yoke. It's undeniably a divisive control system, but just like the fine-tunings just mentioned, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 PS5 gives access to every variable: sensitivity, neutral position, dead zone, and extremity dead zones are all customizable. A few minutes of experimentation is really all it takes to find your sweet spot. Don't skip on the gyro until you've really dialed it in. For many players, it unlocks a more immersive method of control. Alternate between missions and career certifications. This one's kind of forced by certifications costing credits, and credits are earned by completing missions. But Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024's progression loop also enforces structure. In career mode, certifications introduce access to more specializations and long-term improvement, while missions place those skills into challenges. Switching between the two keeps the loop fresh. You're given enough missions to keep you busy for a lifetime, even without leveling up. By undertaking certifications, you learn new skills. In missions, you'll then sharpen them. Use free flight mode for structured practice. Free flight isn't just for sightseeing. It's a controllable test environment for takeoff procedure, pattern work, landing practice, or experimenting with different aircraft types. Starting options matter too. Choosing parked, runway, or airborne lets you tailor the session for whatever you need to work on. These small tweaks ensure your training is far more efficient. Complete every stage of a job for maximum credits. You'll realize this after you've completed your first missions, but in each job, you'll be able to skip pre-flight, walkarounds, taxiing, or long cruise legs. However, doing so cuts your payout. If you're grinding for credits to afford new aircraft or certifications, then stick to completing every procedure. It takes longer, some runway departures feel miles away from parked, but the reward scales accordingly. Plus, completing missions to their fullest reinforced good habits and procedural understanding. Use custom views for cockpit awareness. Tapping L1 plus a D-pad direction during flight allows instant access to incredibly useful panel views. Cockpit gauges, throttle levers, GPS screens, or external runway and window checks before landing. These custom views reduce the amount of camera wrestling that you're going to need to do otherwise with the camera in freeform mode. Some of these readings, like engine RPM, aren't available on the external HUD too, meaning situational awareness demands a quick view solution. Master trim adjustments as early as possible. Trim is the most crucial adjustment which ensures stable flight. It's a system which, when tweaked, aligns the aircraft's natural pitch tendency, removing the need for constant thumbstick pressure. Before trim, you'll be pressing the left thumbstick for entire flights. Once you understand it, you'll realize you've been battling needlessly. Cruising becomes second nature, flights are more meditative, and you'll be more hands-off to engage with the scenery below. Learning trim is the biggest quality of life update you can give yourself. Choose the right specializations if you want to earn money fast. If your aim is to earn credits efficiently, then you should prioritize VIP and cargo work. They're the most lucrative, while other paths are arguably more engaging: rescue operations, firefighting, even sightseeing. Ferrying important people and shipments are your go-to for credit generation. Check the marketplace for free content. The marketplace isn't just an ecosystem for paid-for upgrades. There's a handful of free city and world updates direct from Microsoft that are migrating across for PS5 players. These packs expand geologic detail, more points of interest, sharper terrain, with additional activities unlocked once they're acquired. It isn't just free content, but it broadens the simulation meaningfully.
And that'll be about it for this one. If you guys like what we're doing at GamingBolt, please consider subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.